I love it. With all the authority that I have up here, everybody just moves. It's just crazy. It's really good. Hey, so good to see everybody. So, I get the distinct pleasure of being able to introduce our speaker. And John, maybe why don't you come on up here. And so Lonnie Davis tried to pay me $50 to actually introduce John. You know, and right, Lonnie, you're begging me. $100. It's up to 100. Can I have 200? No. So really, this morning we have somebody who I would consider to be absolutely one of my very, very best friends. You are not sometimes, Marvin. I got a bunch of them.
Well, Marvin's my best friend. What's that? Marvin's my best friend.
Okay, Marvin's my best friend too. So, it kind of surprisingly this morning, I woke up and I thought, you know, what am I going to say about this guy? And I had so many different stories I could tell. But I had one of those intimate moments with the Lord where he just began to just show me, you know, the breadth of the life that he's given me. And in that is just the unbelievable gifts of friendships and kinships. See, I'm getting all misty on you. John and Melissa are his wife. We got to know probably about 20 plus years ago. And what happens in our lives is we end up having relationships and friendships with people. And if we're really fortunate, they become kinships. You know what I mean? I mean, you see a lot of that happening here. And as you reflect on your life and you start to look at just the gifts that you have, many times when you do have those gifts of kinship, you just begin to reflect and you think how valuable they are and how important they are and how much life they give you. And so I'm not going to say a lot about John because there's other things I could say, but what I can say is he's a really incredible brother of mine who I am just really privileged to introduce to you today. So my brother, my kinship, John Liotti.
Thank you, Joe. You know, we have so much deep love for Joe and Linda and a lot of other people in the room. You know, we're really, in a lot of ways, we're children of the Valley. My wife was born and raised in Delhi, and her whole family lives down in the Livingston, Merced area. And we lived here for a lot of years. When I got married, sort of, and through life's transitions, we ended up here, and God really used this place to restore us and to refine us and to release us into what was next. So I feel very much like this is not an unfamiliar place. This is very much home for us. So I just thank all of our friends here, and I see so many of you here. So we just love you all. And Melissa sends her greetings also. This morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that we're doing in Silicon Valley, and in some ways, this is a bit of a report back to you because I very much feel like we were sent out from the Valley 17 years ago to move into Silicon Valley and do the work over there. And so this is a report of what's been going on in the work that we're doing. And also I want to offer just some basic observations of the things that I've learned and we've learned over the past 17 years. So I also, just quickly, this is Alexia and Sue, two of our staff members, and any modicum of success that I have is wholly due to our staff and specifically these two women. So a lot of this is really due to them and who they are. So let me just bring you a little bit through the work that we're doing and let you know what's been going on. The issue that we have primarily is that we live in a region, really, and when I talk about the Bay Area, I'm really also beginning more and more to talk about the Central Valley because of the connections, and I'll come back to that in a little bit. But we live in a region that leads the nation in economic activity and innovation. But the challenge that we're particularly dealing with is the fact that in the shadow of innovation, there's great poverty. Now, I know poverty is relative. Poverty is we may say that poverty is different here from Silicon Valley, but the ratios of cost of living to expendable income is about the same at the end of the day. So the challenge is how can we have abject poverty in an area where there's phenomenal wealth? And AbleWorks' mission is really about connecting those two realities. So one example is in the community where we're based in East Palo Alto, the monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment is about 130% of the average income of the city. So we're dealing with a situation where the working poor and the middle class have no opportunity to gain a foothold anymore. And conversely, the dropout rate is 64% in under-resourced communities. And I imagine that there's parts of the valley here that have the similar statistic. In our case, that makes students 2 times more likely to live in poverty, and they lose about $36,000 in monthly income a year. So what we have is a situation where there's wealth and poverty disparity, and then income disparity layered on top of that. The work that we're trying to do is empower residents and connect them to resources. If there's anything that we do, really, that is at the core, is that we play a role in bridging that gap between the wealthy and the under-resourced. And we do that primarily through giving financial education, life skills, and asset building so that individuals can break free of poverty and oppression. So that mission is really expressed in 2 ways. Our first program, which is our most longest serving program, which really Joe and Self-Help, then Community Trust, helped launch in our area, is called Future Profits. Future Profits is our youth program that prepares high school students for their future by equipping them with financial literacy and life skills. Currently, we're serving over 1,000 students a week in 47 classrooms over a year, with actually 11 high schools this semester. And we've served to date over 5,200 students. And we do this primarily through a cross-sector engagement, meaning our staff is very small. We leverage about 40 plus volunteers who are marketplace volunteers, venture capital people, grandmas, entrepreneurs, just all across the sector who go into our classrooms with our curriculum that we developed and teach these students and give them the opportunity. So I want to show you a quick video, a story about how this cross-sector engagement really played out in the life of one of our students.
I think most people would be surprised at how many homes where families are not having the conversation about money, access, resources, and how to leverage these things. And I think the beauty of the Future Profits program is that we not only expose the students to this, but we provide them scenarios and we provide them opportunities to ask questions and to interact with real people who can give insight into this arena. It allows our students the opportunity to change their cycle or break their cycle of poverty, which is ultimately our goal.
My favorite thing was honestly budgeting, because it's a skill I use today. Well, I'm using now because I'm a senior and I'm going to college after next year. We actually started doing a budget with my mentor about how much my school costs, the tuition, and everything. So how to not spend your money on on instant gratification, but more on delayed gratification, because I know college is going to pay out more than just a pair of Jordans I want right now.
I liked all the skills that they taught us. I'm going through a transition period where I'm going to become an adult and I'm going to have to take care of my own money, and with the skills they taught us, I feel confident about that.
My favorite part would be how interactive they are, and it's really cool. I liked how they're able to have that kind of connection with us rather than just kind of talking at us. They kind of talked with us and kind of taught us a lot.
My favorite part about Future Profits was that all the teachers and the Future Profit teachers kind of just are like family. They don't make you feel like they're teaching you. They make you feel like you're learning together about life. So I really like how it's life skills, not just learning about math or something. It's life skills, and they're really needed.
So there's one expression of the way that we're building capacity and bridging that gap between wealth and poverty is by grabbing a hold of these students in high school before they make bad decisions and helping them not only understand what finances are, but understanding the interaction between money and power and decision making. And the fact that the decisions that they will soon make out of high school will impact the way that they can self-determine and set a course for their life and how that'll impact both themselves and their families for the future. So that program is our longest standing program, and in many ways, it's a phenomenal platform that we have that we can build upon with deeper levels of engagement with students and families beyond that. The other program we have is called Livable. And a couple of years ago, we started asking questions about how do we really break the cycles of poverty, specifically with single mothers, and what are the conditions that can be created to alter negative cycles in the lives of single moms. So through a group of us, including a single mom herself, which I'll talk about in a moment, designed a program that leaned heavily upon peer accountability and peer relationships in a cohort model. We asked the question is, if we threw a bunch of single moms together and created community among those moms coming from disparate situations, many times dysfunctional in their own home situations, if we could create a healthy community in the center of that, where they relied upon each other and they supported each other and they challenged each other, could we begin to see some real differences in the way that the cycle of poverty is broken? So we developed our Livable program that really leans on peer support, education, and then strategically bridging mentoring and other resources into that circle of community that the young women have developed amongst themselves. And the results, honestly, have been probably some of the most outstanding results in the work that I've done for the past 30 years. Last year, we served 120 families. We bring in a counseling approach, so there's a wraparound holistic approach. So we've had 1,320 hours of counseling, mental health counseling, trauma counseling, counseling about abuse issues, domestic violence issues, and all those things. Because the issue that we found out real quickly is you can't talk about your life and your future if you're coming out of a situation of abuse and dysfunction. So our primary goal is economic mobility, but we realize we have to actually move through issues of dysfunction first and remove the barriers so that the women can make good decisions about life and finances. So the indicators of success. 55% of the women that we've served have ended up back in college or some kind of a training opportunity. 100% have indicated that there's a dramatic increase in their self-confidence, which drives their ability to self-determine and to make choices for themselves. 75% related that there's an increase in their children's behavior, a positive increase in their children's behavior. There's been an average increase of income per woman of 34%, in some cases much more than that. And 100% have opened up savings accounts. So the outcomes have been really significant in seeing the women really make choices. And there's a couple of reasons this has been successful. The first is the peer accountability is really the special sauce, I believe. But secondly, we have single moms leading single moms in the program. So they're not outsiders coming in. It's actually folks who are a couple steps in front of the moms in the cohort leading them. And having that interaction of expert support and local leadership has been critical for us. So I want to show you a quick video of one of our young women that really has come a long way.
And I'm a member of the Livable Woman cohort. I wanted to change my life. I just didn't know how. I always seen myself doing better. Just that I kind of didn't have the resources, I guess, or the support. Throughout our meetings and us learning different things, you realize that you're not the only one that goes through the things you do. Like, you'll be surprised as much as you think like I'm the only one that has these issues, that there's a lot of other single moms that go through the same thing. And it's really like nice because you have people that really truly care about you and that believe in you. That's like the number one thing. It's one thing when people that really don't know that much about you are willing to help you and make you like believe in your own dreams even when you don't. The biggest change has been that now me and my beautiful baby have our own little spot, and we're very blessed to have it. It's a perfect little home for me and her, and I'm close to getting off probation in a couple months and my license, just waiting for the day. And I start school in a month, so yeah, and I wouldn't have done any of it without being in the cohort, because I feel like if I didn't have the support, I think I would still be kind of almost there, but not as far as I've gotten.
So that's one example of a woman who really was probably in the most vulnerable situation, an abusive situation with a relationship, on probation, and lots of barriers to success, and probably was on a dark path. Through the program, and she's in a much different place, and we're proud of her. She's still got some challenges we're working through. I mean, none of this isn't a magic pill. And trauma and life of abuse, takes a while to work through. So I don't want to act like everything we do is this kind of success, or even that she's still not struggling with issues, but she's making progress and she's moving forward. And the biggest issue for us is, while we really want to invest in the moms, really it's about the kids, and it's about giving the kids. If we can stabilize the mothers, then we can break that cycle in the lives of the kids. So I want to just, in the last couple of minutes I have, I want to just go through a couple of things that we've learned. The first is that the leadership potential of the community. In many cases, obviously, I'm an outsider when I go into these communities, and what I've come to realize, and I'm trying to repent of, is the fact that I am endued with negative assumptions about the poor. And I'm trying to get that out of my mind, but sometimes I come in with these loaded assumptions about who the poor are, why they're poor, and the situation that they're in. And many times there's a bit of a judgment, like you're in this situation because of who you are. And what I'm finding is that, and what I'm learning is that the reason that there is great wealth and great knowledge beyond anything we really ever understand in the lives of the marginalized and the poor. And failure to understand the strengths and the assets that they bring to the table and the way that we engage with them will ultimately end up in the failure of a program. Let me give you an example. Here's a young woman. This is Blanca. I first met Blanca when she was 17 years old. She'll come up there eventually. I met her when she was 17 years old, and she was living in a Teen Mothers program that my wife worked on. And eventually, we were able to bring her on our staff team. She worked in Future Profits for a while. And as she matured and sort of gained experience, then she was able to sit at the table with us and design our Livable program. Now, having a single mother from the community, from the background, at the table designing a program is the reason it's successful. Because as much education or experience that I may bring, or Sue may bring, or our staff may bring to the table, having Blanca's voice in the place of decision making is critical to the success of the work that we do. And often I've failed in other situations to acknowledge that leadership potential in the people that we serve, and really fan that flame that exists there. One comment I heard in a recent video says that society has a way of making you feel like you're the problem. Often, when we've gone into communities, we've made the people that we serve feel like they're the problem and we're the saviors. When the truth is that we need them as much as they need us. And that we need to be saved too, from our wealth and from our privilege and from the mindset that we've been given. So when we enter into relationships with mutuality and understanding that God has built in great things in the lives of the poor, and that we must sit at their feet and learn as much as we can bring things to the table and offer to them, then health can emerge when we take that opportunity. We have hidden assumptions, conscious or subconscious, and it creates paternalistic engagements if we're not careful. The challenge for us, for me, in a fast-paced world, is that I got to satisfy donor needs, I got to create good outcomes, I've got to show that there's success, bang, 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 bang. But this kind of work takes a long time. And takes a lot of effort. and and it's a great responsibility that we have to slow things down and create the context for relationship so that young women like Blanca, who we've been working with now for almost 10, 15 years, can emerge as a leader in her own community and begin to be an agent of change in her own community. So the challenge is, especially from the donor side of things or the giver side of things, is when we engage with the community, we want to create the right context for slow growth and for development. A mentor of mine said, when we first started doing this work years ago, he said, don't even go if you're not going to give it 15 years. And, we've been in East Palo Alto for 15 years, and now we're starting to see some traction. So, one other example. I was in a former life. I was pastoring a church in the community, and this outside church comes to me and they say, "Hey, Pastor John, we want to come and do an outreach in your community." This was a very wealthy church from the outside, and I'm like, "Well, I tell you what. Here's how this is going to work, because we want to build mutual relationships with the poor. So you come in for a weekend and do an outreach in our community, and we will partner with you." And then the following weekend, we're going to go to your community, and then we'll do an outreach in your community. And you're like, well, we don't do outreaches in our community. Well, why then you should come to our community and do an outreach? And if you're not willing to have Black and Hispanic people walk through the neighborhoods of Palo Alto and do an outreach, then I question your motivation for coming over to us. It's mutuality. It's relationship. It's commonality. It's the fact that we have much to learn from the people who aren't like us. And without their voice, we're ineffective at times in the work that we do. So another regret that I have is at times we failed to have a long-term vision. Meaning, because of crisis issues, we focused on lots of things. But gentrification is raging in East Palo Alto and Redwood City and all the communities that we serve right now. And our lack of attention on things like home ownership and city planning has really ended up hurting our community and created conditions where people can't afford to live there anymore. And my challenge, I think, to a group like here in Modesto would be, is we've got to do the short-term work. There are crisis issues that we need to do to respond to, and short and long-term crisis issues, education, things like that. But also, we should be doing the long-term work of building communities, building infrastructure, making sure that zoning laws reflect the needs and the responsibilities of the community, making sure that people get on a pathway to home ownership so that they can play a role in the determination of their own community, and especially in poor communities. We do this pretty well in wealthy communities, but in low-income communities, there's that lack of voice at times. So I would challenge you to think about long-term. How are you going to make South Modesto or parts of Ceres or West Modesto, what is it going to be like in 15 or 20 or 30 years? And how can the efforts that you're doing today be the determinant of how inclusive the city will be in 30 years from now? And probably because of youthful energy and a lack of perspective, I didn't spend enough time doing that kind of work. The other thing I'll mention real quickly is the impact that we're seeing, especially in our women's program, is due to the holistic approach. We really want to see economic mobility and economic justice, but we got to deal with the bigger issues too. And the more that strategy can be developed that are wraparound and holistic, the more successful that will be in an engagement. So, finally, what I want to say is, before Marvin comes and yanks me off the stage, is our people are coming to you. So it's barely a week that goes by that we don't have a family leave one of the communities that we serve, and we're in the East Bay, the South Bay, and the Peninsula right now. And if they're leaving, by and large, they're coming to the Central Valley. So the struggles that we have with home ownership, with affordable housing, with education, with crime, with violence, all these things are, I know they already exist here because I lived here, I understand that, but they're only going to get more intense. So my encouragement to you as a group is to think about the wave that's coming and is already here, and how to prepare for the thousands of people that are coming your way. And one of the things that we're really hungering for, and this is why I'm glad I'm here, is that we need connections with good organizations. So when I have somebody like Karina leave and move to the Central Valley, I would love to know, here are the service organizations and the social structures that exist so that you can survive in those places. Because when they leave our area, often they don't have the same kind of connections here. So I'm just encouraging you that we have to think about our region now as a full region and not just the Valley and the Bay and as a separate region, because your success is the Bay's success, and the Bay's success is your success, and vice versa on the failure side of things. So this is a unique time for you in a new place. So I'm very excited for partnership. I thank you for this time. We would love to talk to you more, and we just love you guys. And yeah, thanks.
John Liotti, there's his information. If you want to get connected with him, Facebook is there, Twitter is there, his contact information. Some amazing work they're doing in East Palo Alto. Well, my name is Jose Zabala. Today I'm representing Self-Help Federal Credit Union. I am the branch manager there in Riverbank. It was pretty awesome to see this organization, Future Projects. That is something that Self-Help really partnered with and helping launch in that region there in East Palo Alto. So we do have a question here for you. If we can put that question up on the slide. So in your tables, go ahead and read this question. Answer it with somebody. Be heartfelt. Let's take some time to connect. All right? Have a great day.